Inside of the briefcase was a set of containment units and messages sealed away inside of envelopes addressed to different individuals. One of the envelopes was to me. Inside, I found a letter telling me of the importance of my work, how it could not afford to be stopped, that I was necessary, and my work important in ways that I couldn't possibly understand, that I was destined to achieve great things. Signed by an individual calling himself the Believer. It was at that point I felt a shudder go down my spine. Him? He sent her a message and a package over 100 years ago? How old is this guy? How many different plots is he involved in? What's his end goal? Why would he help this nutcase? And why, if he helped someone like this, would he help me too? None of it made any sense. Inside the envelope addressed to me, there were instructions as to how exactly the briefcase and its contents functioned, and what I could expect. It told me how to interact with the box and unseal the contents that were meant for me. Inside of the briefcase, in a bio-locked system, which only a DNA sample from me would unlatch, were nanites. Nanotechnology so advanced it was greater than anything that I could possibly imagine. I was the inventor of nanotechnology. I'm the one who made it possible. And yet the nanotechnology that was in the vial that my genetic template unlocked was radically advanced, more so than anything I even imagined. Even now, the nanotechnology that biotech produces pales in comparison, a shallow imitation next to it. But how? How could they produce something like that when I had only just invented it? It didn't make any sense. But then again, it didn't matter. The function of the nanites that were given to me was made evidently clear. They were bio-synced to me and me alone, and would only function within my body. All I needed to do was inject myself with the nanites, at which point they would alter my body and make me into the beautiful and astonishing creature that you see before you today, she said, beginning to crack a smile, a very wide and unsettling one. Because of those beautiful little nanites, I've become somewhat of a nanite woman, you might call it. Effectively, my body has become a manufacturing facility in which I'm able to produce nanites and then extract those nanites in order to reproduce them in other ways or implant them into individuals. However, their construction has to be based on my knowledge. I am able to see and perceive the construction process and oversee how it's done. However, once again, it's all based on my own knowledge. I wanted to try to reproduce the nanites that were inside of me. However, regardless of what methods I use to go about it, that's completely impossible. And trust me, I've tried everything. They're uncrackable. Any attempt to scan them results in a dispersal of the wavelength used to create the scan. Any attempt to take a sample results in the immediate termination of the nanite that was taken. They can only exist within my body. The moment they leave, they destroy themselves. Like suicide bombers, meaning it's completely impossible to study their design. I may be able to use their functions, but the level of technology that was used to create them, and anything that would allow me to understand them, is still far beyond what we're capable of producing. But all the same, it's given me unbelievable opportunity. As you can see, even though I'm over 100 years old now, I'm still just as stunning as the day I first injected the nanites. I no longer age. It's just not a problem for me. And I still look pretty tight for an old lady, don't I? She said, smiling, which creeped me out a great deal. Emily was standing beside me, clutching onto my arm. She could hardly believe what she was hearing, and I wasn't doing any better. Why was she telling us all of this? I understood that the believer was involved in some way, but how does it connect back to me? And why? Now, over the past 100 years, I've been doing a lot of experimentation and work. It's not an easy job producing nanites, and then testing those nanites. It's tedious and long work. But I've made miraculous strides, producing the assortment of effects that you've seen already. And as of late, support has just been booming, with all sorts of people coming out of the woodworks to get a taste. But as much progress as I've made, it still pales in comparison to the advanced nature of the nanites that I myself am made from, yet don't completely understand. And that's where we come to now. You see, within the instructions that were given to me, there was also a very clear message left. It told me that I wouldn't be able to finish and truly fulfill my destiny within the world by examining the nanites that I inject within myself to reach the level that I desired. There was a key that was necessary to unlock the secrets behind nanotechnology and reveal a bright new world. The instructions were very specific. They gave a date and a name, several names actually, saying that on the date in question, I was to ensnare these individuals, and by doing so would open the gate to the world that I wish to create. The instructions were very specific and clearly stated that Gabrial Moon was the key. But to my surprise, Gabrial Moon didn't exist. There was no such person. It was actually infuriating, like a riddle that I just couldn't figure out. Who the hell was Gabrial Moon? Why couldn't I find him anywhere? He wasn't in the registry for the Moon family. I had never seen him, never heard of him. The Moon family wasn't descended from anyone named Gabrial Moon. And then, about 27 years ago, a child was born into the Moon family. And the child was named Gabrial Moon. If you could imagine the look on my face, you wouldn't even be close. I was completely blown away. How did this individual know that nearly 100 years after giving me the nanites, that someone by the name of Gabrial Moon would be born? That you would get that exact name. And even the date confused me. Why was it so far in the future? But after your birth, it all became clear. The date had to be in the future, because Gabrial Moon hadn't been born yet. And that's when the most astonishing of all the revelations occurred to me. How would this individual know that you would be born nearly 100 years before it happened, to send me a message and a gift to produce nanite technology and begin pushing it towards its true purpose? How would they know me at all? How would they understand all of these things? And when the truth dawned on me, it was like a bright light shining down, making everything so clear. Whoever this individual is, calling themselves the believer, they are from the future. What? I replied, completely shocked. That's not possible. Time travel is a joke, a movie skit. It's not something you can actually do. Yeah, are you out of your mind? Emily replied right next to me. I think you're losing your stuff, if you ever had it. This guy is probably just toying with you. He must have been experimenting with the technology for decades before you discovered it. And he just decided to give you some of his progress for some motive that he's working. There's no way this guy's from the future. That's just crazy. Yes, and I suppose that explains how he was able to foretell the birth of someone who wasn't born for nearly 100 years, after giving me the message, for having technology far more advanced than anything that we are capable of producing, far more advanced than anything that anyone has been capable of producing on Earth in our entire history. That all makes sense to you, huh? Just some man twiddling away in a cave somewhere, advancing human technology far beyond anything anyone else is capable of, and just not telling anyone about it. That sound more reasonable? No, it's clear. This believer is from the future. It's the only reasonable explanation. Whoever they are, they've found a way to bend the fabric of space and time, and have begun throwing petals into the streams of time, altering the past in order to affect the future, rewriting time to their own will. And whatever the reason be, they have chosen me to be a key player in whatever it is this game of theirs is. And by the looks of it, they've chosen you as well, Gabrial. You and I both play a part in this master game for the sake of the future. What are their end goals? We can't possibly know. But that doesn't mean we should change our plans. They've given us tools to achieve our goals, so by all means we should try to achieve them. So what if it helps some dusty old guy 1,000 years from now? The only thing that really matters is that my agendas reach completion, and he believes it as well. No doubt, whoever they are, they're currently enjoying the vast benefits of me pushing nanotechnology, all of the great things that are offered from it. And now, it's time to take the next step in the game, to make the next move. A very long time ago, my father taught me a lesson, one that, to this day, I have never forgotten. Do not rely on a higher power to save you from the depths of despair. In the end, they will always leave you wanting, empty-handed and alone. If God fails you, then slay him. Kill God and take his place. Sit upon the throne yourself and show him exactly how it's supposed to be done. If no God will save humanity, then clearly the answer is to become gods ourselves. And so, we will cast to the wind what makes us weak and human, and become the gods of the world, immortal, undying, untouchable gods, far beyond anything that human beings could have ever imagined that we would be. And it all begins here, she said, as one of the individuals in a white lab coat approached her, holding in her grasp a silver briefcase. She turned around with a big smile on her face, looking in me and Emily's direction as she opened the case. Inside, there were 3 vials, very large vials. One was red and simply had 2 letters on it, E-M. Another was blue and had the word Gabrial affixed to it. The last was a bright white. On it was written a simple word, Titan. These are the rest of the contents of the package that I was left by the believer. The contents have been locked within, sealed by a date and a time stamp, at which point their bio-locking mechanisms will become active. Oh, and what do we have here? She said, directing our attention to a ticking clock, a digital readout of what seemed like a countdown timer, showing numbers counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. At which point, the case gave off a beeping sound, and several slats inside of the briefcase opened up. Again, it was for us. 100 years before I was born, the believer left a message for me, and yet another gift.